This is Tony Holler, and I'm going to talk today about making speed the priority in your program. One of the first things I think it's always important to review is this whole idea of what is the mission of Feed the Cats. Let's talk about culture a little bit. I hear about culture all the time. It's one of those buzzwords, and to me, culture is kind of a weird subject because a lot of people that consider themselves big on culture are just people that have a lot of rules, or they do some fun things, a scavenger hunt, or they visit the sick, or they read books to first graders or something, and they call that culture. And I just want to talk just a little bit about what I think culture is. First of all, my team rules. My team rules, they're just one of them. Show up every day for practice. That's it. It's funny, in my chemistry class, I had one rule as well. Since I knew kids would show up every day, my rule was the Vegas rule. If they want me to be their favorite teacher, a guy that's an actual human being that will talk to them and have fun with them and all that stuff, what goes on in our classroom stays in our classroom. And it was strange every time we had a parent-teacher conference. Parents wanted to tell me that my class was all they ever wanted to talk about at dinner. And, I had to tell them, I said, they're breaking my only rule. And, we laughed about it. But I think it's important to understand that good families, good teams, good classrooms don't have to be a police state. So for culture, to me, and I got this from Steve Jones, that everybody has culture. You hear it's either intentional or by default. I used to think I didn't have culture because I didn't have a lot of rules and regulations and consequences. But I do have culture, and I'm proud of the culture that we've developed. Basically, we have high expectations, and we teach those expectations. We don't drive expectations by rules or by punishing kids. We teach expectations. And I think, that's sometimes a forgotten thing that gosh, we're teachers. And if you really have great culture, rules and consequences are pretty unnecessary. Now, once in a while, you might do something, where, a kid acts up and you send them home. But I don't think you have to have a written rule for everything. I believe in leadership by example. I love servant leadership. I think that anybody that wants to complain about leadership on their team probably needs to read The Twin Thieves by Steve Jones. I think we always have to talk about a tradition of excellence. And no matter how good your team's been in the past, you still talk about the tradition of excellence. And that's the excellence in the culture, not necessarily the number of games you've won. I'm really big on the idea of happy and healthy. And by happy and healthy, I don't mean like a goofy, fun, like it's a birthday party happy. I'm talking about kids being mentally healthy and physically healthy. And we just have a rule on our track team that if you're banged up, you don't run, period. And what that does is I think kids appreciate their health. They miss practice. And instead of like browbeating a kid about it, what, you're not practicing today? You better practice. No, our kids want to practice, and that's part of our culture. We compete all the time. We compete more in practice than any track team I've ever seen. And if I had a football team, it would be the same way. It was that way when I coached football for 25 years. And I think it's really important that kids learn to win and lose in practice. That's a learning experience. We don't always get to win. And if you don't compete in practice, then your kids will only lose in games, and then it's like catastrophic and all that. And I'm just such a teacher. I taught for 38 years. I've coached for 43, and I really believe in the high school experience where teachers are coaches and coaches are teachers. And my dad was a teacher, and my parents did not have a bunch of rules and consequences. They taught us how to act, and they got mad at us when we didn't act right, and we learned from that. So I think we all need to think about culture and what it means to us. I'm always getting the question on the weight room. I know this is supposed to be about speed, but the weight room obviously is a part of training and all that. So a lot of times, a lot of people don't think this is very satisfying, but I say stay general in the weight room. Now, general means let's work on pushes and pulls and squats and hinges, but there's all kinds of variations of all those things, and there's absolutely no variation of any lift that will make you directly fast. Or I like to say that there's no lifts in the weight room that fast people do well and slow people do poorly. None. Period. There is no way that I can pick my 4x1 team by watching them lift weights. Now, in contrast, we want to be extreme in speed training. Well, what does that mean? We want to spike up, get timed. We want to be maximal in our effort. We don't want to run. We want to sprint, and we want to sprint. Our goal is to sprint faster than we've ever sprinted before. I'm not a believer in, we just want them to go 90%. I hate percentages, and I really don't like people who talk about it. So no, we time. No, of course, you try to be loose and efficient and all those kinds of things because you want to be fast. So it may not be trying too hard, veins popping in your neck and all that kind of stuff, but we are really trying to run fast. And then in the sport, we need to be specific. And you may say, of course, in basketball we shoot, and in baseball we throw and hit. But there's so many coaches that are not specific in practice. They do a lot of general BS. And practice is when we get good at our craft, our sport. So away from our sport, we create athletes. How? General in the weight room, extreme in speed training. And then in the sport, we get better at our sport. My two big rules about the weight room is never let the weight room interfere with speed. And that hurts a lot of people's feelings. What does that mean? That means if your leg day is Monday and guys are sore for 3 days, I don't like you. I don't like you as a strength coach. You are interfering with speed. Why in the world wouldn't you wait till the end of the week to destroy their legs? And why are you doing that anyway? I mean, if you are interfering with the pursuit of speed, you are making athletes less athletic. They are missing out on a great opportunity to learn how to move fast. And then the other thing is never let the weight room interfere with the sport in season. And once again, there are so many track coaches that I hear about where the football coach, he doesn't care if they have a meet or not. He doesn't care if the state meets the next day. They're going to do what they do in the weight room, and to hell with track. And I don't think that's a good way to be with kids. That football coach is hurting the kid, by the way. It's not just hurting the track team, it's hurting the kid. So we need to work together and never let the weight room interfere with the sport or with the pursuit of speed. Now, we work on speed 2 or 3 times a week. That's max. 2 or 3 times. During the winter, we go 2 times a week. And speed stuff is so misunderstood. People think I'm all max velocity, blah, blah, blah. Well, this week, we will have 2 speed days, and my guys will be at max velocity for less than 10 total seconds. Think about that. Less than 10 total seconds of max velocity speed. But this is important. That 10 seconds is the most important thing those kids will do all week. Weight room, track, wherever, it's going to be the most important thing they do. It is so crazy microdosed that the return on investment with sprint training is just blows my mind. We do not spend that much time sprinting, but it's still our priority.